Right, good morning, welcome back. Now today on the Big Triumph I want to do a coolant change. And if you looked at the last video, I changed this thermostatic switch in the radiator because the old one perforated and failed, and that meant draining down that much of the coolant. And what came out is here in the bowl, and as you can see, it's a right old state. Now coolant is a periodic service procedure. You do it on schedule like all your other fluids, and it's not due yet, but there's no way I'm putting that back of the engine or going to leave the rest of it in there. So what I'll do instead is we'll drain it down, flush the system through with some clean distilled water, and then refill the full system with fresh, clean, new coolant. So let's do it. Right, now if you're changing coolant, it's important to change as much of it as you possibly can, obviously. Now there's 2.5 litres inside these engines, it's on the specification, and it's been said you never get really more than 2 litres of it out because it just lays in little cavities inside the motor and so on. So why don't we see how much we can actually get out? There's 2 drain screws, there's one on the pump itself, that drains the radiator down, and there's one on the block that drains the engine down. That means that it's draining from both sides of the thermostat, and there shouldn't be, well, hardly any left inside. There will be a little bit in the pump itself, but there's a little hose on the inside, and if you whip that off, that should drain the pump too. So when we get it all out, let's measure it and see just how much of that 2.5 litres we can actually drain out. Right, 2.5 litres. Let's see how close we got. Right, so 2 litres and 200 mils, meaning 300 mils left in the engine of that filthy coolant. Also, there's quite a lot of solids in the bottom of the drain pan, so it's not only important to change your coolant on schedule, it's also important to flush it as well, because with 300 millilitres of that left in the engine, we need to dilute it as much as possible before we put the new stuff in. And as you can see, the distilled water has come out as dirty as the coolant itself did. So I think for good measure, we'll give it a second flush. Right, okay, now if you've ever done this yourself, you know there is a little bit of a challenge, and that's getting all the coolant in without an airlock. And the easiest way to do it is trickle it in really slowly. Give the coolant a chance to work its way into all the little coolers it lives in inside the motor and inside the radiator. And I managed to do that. I got 2 litres into the radiator, capped it off, and I got the final 200 ml into the expansion tank. And now the system is completely air-free. If you get an airlock in it by just chucking it in too quick, then that airlock becomes a bubble, and as it moves around the system, it makes its way to the pump. And when an air bubble reaches the pump, the coolant stops moving, the bike overheats and starts puking the coolant out the overflows, which isn't cool. So there we are. That's it for today. I hope that helped you. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. Ride safe. See you next time.